Metal Jesus, I'm back again with a frosty mug of Guinness. Oh, yes. Oh, and I've also got one of my favorite t-shirts on, Dream Theater. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's the big occasion? Well, the thing is, this week I'm going to talk about something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and that is forgotten first-person shooters. There are a bunch of them out there, especially in the late 90s and right around 2000 that for whatever reason, didn't get any love. Maybe they didn't sell very well. Maybe they didn't get a sequel, and that's a shame. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a drink and fire up my computer, play some games. Let's go.
You wanted to see me?
Mr. Volkov has requested your services. He's expecting someone to crash our little party tonight. He wants you to make our uninvited guest feel at home. Permanently.
Right off the bat, I want to talk about one of the most fun first-person shooters that I have ever had the pleasure of playing, and that is No One Lives Forever 2, A Spy in Harm's Way. This game was developed by Monolith and published by Sierra in 2002, and like I said, it's probably one of my favorite first-person shooters of the day, right along such other classics as Half-Life. In the game, you play as a feisty spy. Her name is Kate Archer. Now, imagine if Austin Powers was turned into an excellent first-person shooter, and you kind of get the vibe and the comedic style of what this game is all about. It's almost a spoof. In the game, you visit ninja villages, trashy trailer parks. There's even a secret submarine base and a hollowed out volcanic lair that would fit right into like a classic James Bond game. But it's played all for laughs.
Gentlemen, this is Agent Archer, one of our top undercover operatives.
I'll bet you she is.
You ever swallow a lit cigar?
Thank you, Dr. Schenker.
Now, one of my favorite things, other than just sort of the silliness of this game, is that the controls are really tight and it allows you to play the game as stealth if you want, which is one of my favorite ways to play first-person shooters. It's just a really well-made game. Now, it did get an official sequel. I believe it was called Codename Jack, but for some reason they decided to change the main character and also kind of tone down the silliness and the fun that made this game so great. So most hardcore fans like me don't even really consider it a true sequel.
Status.
Captain, we have reports of secondary EPS conduits on decks 8 and 9 rupturing.
Many Star Trek fans know that a good Star Trek game can be pretty hard to find. Well, Star Trek Elite Force 2, released by Ritual Entertainment in 2003, is a surprisingly high-quality, story-driven first-person shooter. The game is based on Star Trek Voyager, and all the characters from Voyager are here, and actually the plot is pretty fun and entertaining, even if you're not the biggest Voyager fan.
No life signs?
Like a ghost ship.
Yeah.
Boo!
While your superstitious beliefs are quite illogical, Mr. Chell, caution is recommended.
Now, in addition to being a really solid first-person shooter, the game also includes a number of puzzles and mini-games to kind of keep the gameplay varied. This is actually a really surprisingly good game, so I'm not sure why they didn't make a proper sequel to it. This next game is definitely a fan favorite. It's called Outlaws, and it was released by LucasArts in 1997. And it uses an enhanced version of the Star Wars Dark Forces engine with a really cool Wild West setting. Now, in 1997, there really weren't a lot of Western-style first-person shooters. I would actually say there's not even really that many today. But this game is really memorable because, in addition to the setting, it also had really cool CG animation sequences, and, you know, the overall quality was actually pretty high. An interesting fact about this game is that it actually was the very first first-person shooter to have a sniper rifle with a zoom. So kind of a simple feature today, but this was the first game to do it.
Good shooting, mister, but you're already too late.
Here's a game that I struggled as to whether I should include it or not because it's not perfect, but it certainly is forgotten, and that is Project Snowblind. Project Snowblind was created by Crystal Dynamics for the original Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and Windows in 2005. Now the game started out as the third Deus Ex game. It was going to be called Clan Wars, and it was going to be focused solely on multiplayer. However, Deus Ex Invisible Wars sold so poorly that this game was changed.
You're supposed to be the latest and the greatest, and you don't even have ballistic shielding? Come here. Hold still. They did the same thing to me. There's this dip switch they forgot to...
However, many of the original Deus Ex ideas still remain in this game, including augmentations, some of my favorite parts of Deus Ex. As a matter of fact, I'm a huge Deus Ex fan, so it kind of kills me to say that Invisible Wars did so bad. It was an okay game, but certainly not great. And you can kind of see a little bit of that in this game here too. This game feels a bit generic and maybe unfocused, but you know, it's surprisingly well made. It kind of reminds me of a mix of maybe Time Splitters 2 and, of course, the Deus Ex angle. And thankfully it can be found relatively cheap on the original Xbox. Here's another series that I was kind of on the fence as to whether I should include it or not, but I decided to for a very specific reason, and that is because the first and second Thief games were fantastic and some of my favorite first-person shooters. Now you may be saying, whoa, wait a second now, didn't they make a third one? Yes, but they changed too much of that game, and it just didn't feel quite right. So I'm going back to the originals here.
Oh, better stop and check out that light around the corner.
Thief 1 and 2 were developed by Looking Glass Studios, the first one in 1998 and the second one in 2000. Now you play these games as a master thief named Garrett in a steampunk city of, I guess it's the 18th or 19th century. They never actually say exactly what. But the game is filled with political intrigue, there's mystical characters, there's clans that worship either magic or technology. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Now, Garrett bounces back and forth between all of these different factions while sucking up loot and basically shooting out lamps and torches and just sort of sneaking around. And he's sort of the catalyst for everything.
Garrett. Victoria.
Now, the reason why I say that this game is potentially forgotten is because the mechanics of stealth in this game, I feel, are absolutely perfect. In my opinion, I actually find these games to be more enjoyable than, dare I say, Metal Gear Solid or the Splinter Cell games. They just got the AI and stealth perfect in this game. And they just happen to be first person, so I don't know, I just absolutely love them to death. And now we come to one of the most highly anticipated games of 1998, and that is the first-person shooter called Sin. Sin was developed by Ritual Entertainment. Remember I mentioned them with the Star Trek game. Now this game uses a modified version of the Quake 2 engine. The game is set in the near future of the year 2037, but I like it because it has a really cool kind of RoboCop meet Judge Dredd vibe to it. The game is considered groundbreaking for the time and actually introduced many new features to the first-person genre, including secondary weapon fire, a third-person view, specific area damage, there was drivable vehicles, open levels, destructible levels, and a whole lot more. I think for me what I like about this game is that it's just really fast and really fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the days of Duke Nukem or maybe Quake. You know, you just get in, you just run around levels, shooting dudes. It's a lot of fun, and this is a really well-made game, and for whatever reason, it's just kind of forgotten.
Hey, Chief, are we locked and loaded yet? Yes, sir. Ready to roll.
Roger that. Hey, Blade, give him hell.
You got it.
So that's just some of the first-person shooters that I feel have been sadly forgotten over the years. But I'd love to know what you think, because this is really only part 1. I've got ideas for part 2 and 3. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the games I included, and also some others that you think, no, they need to be in part 2 and 3. Love to hear that. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching my channel, and thanks for subscribing. Cheers. Oh yeah.